Hello everybody, and welcome to a video from Gun Gamers of a type that we haven't done in quite some time actually. I have not done one of these videos where I comment on something going on in the airsoft industry and start a discussion that's relevant or hopefully useful at least, and try to really get the conversation going about some things inspired by current goings-on. Now obviously, one of the most recent current goings-on that's been a big to-do in the airsoft industry is the fact that it is appearing that Airsoft Innovations is no more. I'm trying to choose my words carefully because technically we don't have confirmation on that. But after Jet couldn't get them to comment on the record, yeah, it's sounding pretty safe to call it. So I do actually have a little bit of sadness for this because, you know, if you've been playing Airsoft forever like I have, then you remember when the Tornado came out. You remember when the Airsoft Innovations propane adapter was a big deal. You remember when that was Airsoft. You know, grenades were the Tornado. Grenades were everything Airsoft Innovations made. They were the guys who helped push that forward. And so there's a little bit of nostalgia for the halcyon days of Airsoft associated with that company. So unfortunately seeing them, again, what appears to be go under on appears to be risky gamble is kind of sad. But it is something that we have unfortunately had to watch occur. Now, if you're not familiar with this situation, basically Airsoft Innovations is an old school airsoft company from the early 2000s. They made some products that you're probably familiar with. If not the propane adapter and the Tornado grenade, then you're probably familiar with the Master Mic or the 40 mic. And most recently, the biggest thing they were teasing was the Flak 5 and Flak 10 series of super shotguns. And those looked interesting, looked pretty cool. I'm actually pretty sad we won't get to see more development on that concept unless someone buys the patents or we're all wrong about Airsoft Innovations. Either one of those, you know, we'll see what happens. But the big thing that I want to talk about are the lessons that we as both consumers and companies can take away from what's happened with this Airsoft Innovations situation, because those who don't learn from their history are doomed to repeat it. So as we're watching this little bit of history unfold, hopefully there's a few lessons that we can learn that will be useful for all of us in the future. Now, first of all, to cite my sources and give as much information as possible if you want to learn more about this, Jet has his most recent video on the Flak 10 that he uploaded. It's a good video for its own sake, regardless of what's going on with Airsoft Innovations. You know, Jet's a good dude. Jet's a friend of mine, so I will definitely recommend his video. And he does go into the situation at the end of it. Then there's Airsoft Atlanta and several other retailers that have posts that are going on about how Airsoft Innovations has stiffed them on orders and how they have unfilled pre-orders. People in the comments there saying how they have unfilled orders. There was a post pretty recently in a couple of Facebook groups of their front door having an eviction notice because they apparently haven't been paying their rent. So based on all this information, it looks like the whole situation, as it can be best summed up, is Airsoft Innovations ran into a cash flow issue while they were pursuing an ambitious project and ultimately could not afford to deliver on that project while keeping the lights on, and ultimately wound up not being able to even keep the lights on. That's based on everything that I've seen, and this takes us to our first lesson that I really want to hammer home is Airsoft Innovations should have been a lot more communicative. I feel that is a fair bit of criticism because they have still not released an official statement. They have not made any public statement that I'm aware of regarding the whole situation with the Flak 10 shotgun pre-orders. Jet called them to try to get a statement and they asked not to be recorded. They have asked not to, they basically have made no public comment and asked anyone who's talked to them about it not to publicly share too much of what they hear. So that's a really shocking bit of non-transparency in my mind. When you've got something like this happening that is affecting your company to this degree, it's a terrible idea to go radio silent. So if you work at an airsoft company and you are watching this, that's my first big lesson to you. Maintain communication with your customer base and maintain transparency, especially when things go wrong. When things go wrong is not the time to clam up and go radio silent because that breaks consumer confidence. And if you're especially basing your business on pre-orders, which we will get to in a second, You need that consumer trust, you need that consumer confidence, and if you can't build that and you break that, then you've basically just destroyed your business. So that's the first lesson for the industry. You need to communicate with your customers and you need to communicate with your dealer network, because believe it or not, dealers are customers of yours too. And if you can't maintain a good relationship with your dealers, then even if you come out the other side of whatever the latest scandal with your customers is, your dealers are still not going to want to stock your products. So that's a big important thing to take note of. You need to maintain those relationships with communication. So don't be hostile either. A lot of people think that just communicating anything is good enough and no publicity is bad publicity, but if you maintain a hostile relationship with anybody, then you're turning away customers. Now, there's all kinds of debate on what the best way to maintain professional relationships is, but if you can maintain a good relationship with your vendors, your dealers, your sponsors, and stuff like that, that is honestly more important than direct customer-facing communication. And Airsoft Innovations has failed to do that, unfortunately. I feel safe saying that, at least. But this is where we get into a lesson for consumers as well, because one of the things that I find makes a lot of companies hesitant to talk to consumers is fear of consumer backlash and consumer response. And when you're dealing with a hobby industry, it can especially get kind of vitriolic for ultimately no real reason. Now, this situation, obviously Airsoft Innovations has taken a lot of people's money and not delivered a product. This is one of those situations where I don't think vitriol is necessarily unjustified. I am personally trying to do better not participating in a lot of that type of stuff myself, but I understand why people are on it, hammering these guys. But I see a lot of situations where companies will just announce a product and there's a backlash over the product that was announced. Or I'll see companies just post something up and just really weird negative comments for no real reason come out. I mean, hell, there was a comment on Jet's post about his video where someone said he was simping for Airsoft Innovations. It's like, dude, did you watch the video? So as a consumer, try to make educated comments and maintain your own good relationship with everybody, because ultimately, it does kind of look to a lot of marketing departments like a lot of consumers are kind of just edgy for no reason. And again, I get it. I've been there. I've done that. This is something I've had to personally grow through and grow out of. But it's a lesson to take away that you can get a lot further dealing with industry people if you can maintain some semblance of politeness and professionalism when they don't steal your money for a product that they're not going to deliver. I do draw that hard line in the sand. But if they release something and you don't like it, there's ways to say that without being an asshole. That's, again, something I've had to work on. Lesson number 2. I mentioned this just a second ago, so I'm going to get right into it. And this goes for both companies and consumers. Don't engage in risky pre-orders. And what I mean by this is if you are a company and you are banking on pre-order money to carry you through a product development, or you're banking on pre-orders to carry you through to be able to deliver your product and you can't afford to refund those pre-orders, don't take those pre-orders. You should have enough cash flow from enough other products, and that's another thing we'll talk about, but you should have enough cash flow from enough other products and services that you don't need to bank on pre-orders for research and development purposes or for just even getting product into consumers' hands. If you can't afford to deliver the product, if you don't get any pre-orders, you probably shouldn't be taking pre-orders, to put it bluntly. This is one of those things that I know a lot of businesses do things like this, but that's where businesses get in a lot of trouble. I mean, I work in business in my day job, and I just started a new business that we can talk about another time. And one of the things I've realized is, or not realized, just one of the things I learned getting even started in business way back when, is you need to make decisions and projections based on a very realistic, conservative estimation of your cash flow. So Airsoft Innovations, from what we've heard, from what we've seen, in the absence of a contrary statement or them being willing to really talk to anybody, it appears they were taking pre-orders to fund the development and the manufacturing of this Super Shotgun series. And then, of course, COVID came up and they got screwed by materials availability. But even then, you shouldn't have been taking customers' pre-order money to basically kickstart your product. At least not without telling people that's what was happening. But when you're taking $600 for an airsoft toy, I mean, come on, that money has to be going somewhere, I get it, but that money should be going toward the product against its cost with you still making a profit and not toward developing and researching and delivering that product. You need to have other cash flow that will be a fallback in case you don't get enough pre-orders. And if you don't get enough pre-orders, you should be able to refund those pre-orders if you can't deliver the product. That's good consumer practice. That's how it should be. And on the consumer side of not engaging in risky pre-orders, I gotta tell you, stuff like this is why I pre-order very little. I can't remember the last time I pre-ordered a video game. I never pre-order airsoft guns. And I think the only thing I've pre-ordered in the last 5 years has been vinyl records. Because ultimately, yeah, you know, I might have a vinyl record that's delayed for like 6 months, Worm Shepherd's Ritual Hymns, but it's only $25. So I'm not out a complete ridiculous amount of money if this takes longer than expected, and I do have a reasonable expectation that I can either get a refund or just eat the money if, God forbid, they can't deliver. But when you're pre-ordering something that's $600 and you put all $600 down, now you can't really afford to lose that so much. So if you never get a refund or never get your product, you just ate shit on probably close to a week's worth of pay, depending on what your job is. So, ooh, that's real rough. So I hate to say it, I just recommend not pre-ordering stuff. And that sucks to say, because in an ideal world, no one would steal your money after not delivering a product. But we don't live in an ideal world. I wish we did. We all wish we did, but we don't. So I recommend just not engaging in pre-orders unless you have a very serious trust-based relationship and can afford to lose the amount of money that you're putting down. That's the only thing that I can say in regard to that. And another lesson that I really want to put down, both for companies and consumers, is know your market and know the profitability of your product, or at least the potential interest in your product, before you try to launch a product. This is something that I think Airsoft Innovations did struggle with in the past. Look at the immediate banning of the 40 mic at pretty much every field. They obviously put a lot of work, research and development, patents, legal fees. All this type of stuff has cost and time. And time is a cost in a business, because all that time that you're sinking into this product that doesn't make as much money as it should is time you could have sunk into another product that would have made you more money. Thus, your time would have been much more valuable there. And I think that's something that I hate to say, I think Airsoft Innovations struggled with. I think they overestimated the demand for the Flak 10. I think they overestimated demand for 40 mics. I think they overestimated demand for a lot of things that they made over the years, because ultimately, it kind of wasn't that relevant to huge sectors of the market. A lot of those things got banned immediately. And it sucks because a lot of those things were cool. But when you can't deliver enough of that product to make any money because most people can't even use it, or if they can use it, they can't afford it, then you're not making money. You get into a cash flow crunch. You can't pay your rent. You can't pay development without pre-orders. And eventually you apparently go under. So that's a real problem right there. That's the natural cascade of how that happens. And on the flip side, that applies to consumers. Again, not anything that consumers do that's the fault of a company that releases something that's not relevant, but I see all the time impulse purchases of equipment that you can't really get the most use out of. Again, been there, done that myself so many times. And if you look at your money and your time as an investment, from your own end of getting the most use out of something that you can, or getting the most fun out of something that you can. If you impulse buy something because it looks really cool, but hey, turns out it's super not relevant to how you like to play the game, or super not relevant to the rules in your area, or it's banned in your area and you can't really make use of it, or you can't use it the way you want to, then you've just wasted all that money. Full disclosure, I did that with my Crytek Vector. I bought it because I thought, I'm gonna do SMG class at Desert Fox events, and I got this whole rig made, it was super cool, used it once, sold the whole package, because I'm like, oh well, turns out I just like doing rifleman or light machine gun. Submachine gun wasn't my jam. And that was a lot of money that I sank into that I did not get back. I sold that at a major loss, and we've all done that. So don't impulse buy stuff. And you know, is it a stretch to say that that's a lesson we learned from Airsoft Innovations? Maybe, but it's my YouTube video and I'll make all the stupid points that I want to. So yeah, hopefully that was another addition to my proud tradition of taking some drama in the industry and turning it into workable points that we can all learn from. I hope that that was a useful video for anyone who was watching, or at least entertaining. If it wasn't entertaining, feel free to hit that dislike button, which sadly is now hidden, but I'll see it. I'll know. Or leave a mean comment. Mean comments are great. Or leave a nice comment if you like the video, hit that like button if you like the video, and it's either shilling Raid Shadow Legends or shilling my games. If you really want to support the channel, go buy a ticket to Gun Gamers Productions Overture in Albrightsville. Skirmish Paintball is a really cool facility, 350 acres. It'll be a 12-hour continuous game with issued ammo. All the Gun Gamers guys will be there working in the chain of command as staff. You'll be playing with us and with our command chain, and hopefully you'll have an awesome time. Rule set, website, everything is in the description. I'm sorry guys, like I said, it's either Raid Shadow Legends or my games. Pick one. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.